Jeff Benedict is on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline, New York Times best-selling author and friend of BYU Sports Nation. Jeff, welcome back to the program.
Good morning, guys. Good to be back.
I hope you survived a very chilly night, Monday Night Football in Foxborough, watching the Patriots and Ravens. A very cool scene. Before we get into the particulars of the BYU alumni and whatnot, how was it as a Monday Night Football experience overall?
I think it was, it was everything you'd want in a Monday Night Football game. It was December, two really good teams, cold weather, Christmas season. A lot of people dressed up like Santa Claus. It was, you could see the air when people breathed. It was just cold and New England's a great football area, and I was talking to Kyle about this last night before the game. About how lucky he is to be playing in New England. It's such a great area for football, and plus New England's basically had a dynasty going with Belichick and Brady, and they're clearly the class of the NFL. And I think it's just been great for Kyle's career that he ended up in New England this year. Right now, I mean, before the game, there were a lot of pros there, ex-pros. The whole ESPN crew was there last night. Boomer was there. Everybody came for this game, and one of the things that a lot of the guys were talking about before the game was that you almost take for granted what's going on in New England right now. This team is so good, and they've been so good for so long. And you've got Tom Brady, who's 39 years old, and he should be the MVP of the league. And I think it's pretty great for someone like Kyle Van Noy to have got traded there in the middle of the season, and he's now getting to play and show what he can do. He really didn't get to do that in Detroit, and New England's really using him for what he's best at, and he's getting to rush the passer. He's in coverage. He's doing the things that he showcased at BYU, where his real talent set is, and Belichick and the Patriots are using him that way, and he's really doing well.
You've had lots of conversations with Kyle Van Noy. What has it been like for him to be on the Patriot squad, which in my opinion is the second best team to my Seahawks, Jeff?
Jerem.
I think, look, I think it's when you go to a game at that stadium, especially a nationally televised game like last night, you can't help but notice it's pretty overwhelming. When Tom Brady runs out of the tunnel, never mind for the start of the game, I'm talking about for warm-ups. When he runs out of the tunnel, the stadium goes crazy. You look in that guy's eyes, and you can see, like, this guy is different than everybody else. And it sets a tone, and then there's Bob Kraft roaming around the sidelines. Bill Belichick, it's like 0 degrees, and Bill Belichick's out there in his shorts. This team is built to win championships, and I think for Kyle to walk into that, I mean, he's coming from Detroit, and Detroit's got a good team this year, but Detroit does not have a history of winning. They have a history of losing. And you've now come to the class of the NFL, and I think, he's in there, and he's fighting for playing time. He's getting playing time, but I think it takes some time for this to settle in. It's almost analogous to moving, to a brand new place where you don't know anybody, and you don't know the history, and you're the new guy in town, and he is all of that, and he's around some of the biggest superstars in the NFL, and but he's finding his footing, and he's making a solid contribution.
Jeff Benedict, New York Times best-selling author, contributor for Sports Illustrated, and friend of BYU Sports Nation, with us on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline, joining us after watching Monday Night Football between the Ravens and the Patriots in Foxborough last night. And you mentioned, other than Kyle Van Noy, there were a lot of former players, including Steve Young, who was there with ESPN on the sideline. Not to mention former BYU players Dennis Pitta and DeAndre Wesley in the game for the Ravens. What were your observations watching all of these BYU guys interact with each other and play against each other last night?
Well, the reason I was there actually was I was there with Steve because we were doing some interviews with NFL.com and the NFL Network for promoting his book, and I was giving out books to fans, which was a ton of fun. But one of the things one of the observations I had, which was really nice, was to see Kyle and Steve, get a little bit of time before the game. And it's, here on the one hand, you have a guy who's in the Hall of Fame, and is now an analyst for ESPN. And then on the other end is a guy who's pretty new to the league. He's not a rookie anymore, but he's at the beginning of his career. And so here are these two guys talking from the different perspectives. And Steve is always great with younger players. And it was just, I don't know, for me, having written about Kyle, both in Sports Illustrated and in the system, and certainly written about Steve in his autobiography, it was kind of, it was a good moment to see those two guys together. Kyle's a student of the game, for sure. And I think Steve's a great teacher. All you have to do is listen to him on TV, and you can tell he's a great instructor. And he works really well with younger guys, and he always goes out of his way to reach out to the BYU players around the league whenever he's in a city where there's a player.
QB, My Life Behind the Spiral just made the New York Times bestseller list. Congratulations on that. That is very cool. How has the reception been the past few months?
It's been great. Steve's book came out October 11th, and so it's been over 2 months now. He's worked really hard to promote it by going to signings around the country. And the Monday night thing has been great because we spent a lot of time together over the last 5 years working on the book on Mondays, and now to be going back to a lot of these stadiums. One of the things I've been doing, which most writers don't get to do something like this, but I've been bringing books to these games, boxes of books, and giving them out to fans. And it's pretty fun, especially now that Christmas season's here. Like last night, giving books away, especially to children. It's really great to see a kid clutching a book, that's about a guy that played before they were born. And there was this group of kids there last night. They were probably between 12 and 14 years old, and they were all screaming, John Stephen Young, John Stephen Young. And they wanted him to come over and sign books and autographs. And one of these kids goes, you're my favorite player of all time. And Steve, said, how do you spell my first name? And the kid goes, Jon. So clearly he really did know his name.
Nice.
And I don't know. I just thought it's been really interesting to see fans around the country. We've done this now in Seattle. We've done it in New York. We did it last night in Foxborough, where we've given out boxes of books to fans. And the fans really love it. They resonate with Steve. And I think it's just because of the way Steve played, but also because of the way he treats people. It's been a lot of fun.
Jeff, how is Steve reacting to the success, the ongoing success, I should say, of the book?
Well, I mean, we've talked about that a lot. I mean, I think in some respects he's surprised because Steve is he's pretty humble, and I think he always was skeptical of how people would react to his book and him writing a book so long after he retired. He's been out of the league, 16 years. Will people even care? And I think it's been, and that is a risk when an athlete writes a book that long after retiring. Typically, the publishing industry wants a retired athlete to do his memoir within a year or two after retirement. Steve waited a long, long time, and but I think what he's seen from this, which has been great, and all you got to do is go on Amazon and look at all the reviews that readers are posting, and you can see BYU fans, 49er fans, Dallas Cowboy fans, people who have written these great reviews about Steve, and a lot of it, I think, stretches back to the fact that there's a carryover effect for how people feel about him going way back to when he was a college player or a pro player. He was always good to people, and people remember that, including, opponents and fans from opposing teams.
Jeff, great stuff. We appreciate the time, know how busy you are, and wish you luck in your future endeavors. We can't wait to see what happens next, my friend, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again soon.
All right, Merry Christmas, you guys.
Merry Christmas to you. Jeff Benedict
Jeff.
on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline.